In 1961, Victor Charles took a family photo of us in their beach house living room. Standing in the back row was Tony Edwards, my father Sonny, David Francis, my mother Hilda, and kneeling in front was my grandma Mert and Victor Francis's sister Elna Buono. Victor Francis's mother, Rose Buono, was sitting in a wheelchair, and sitting on the floor was my sister Renee, me, and my older sister Teresa. How many people have the experience of having a family member who is a professional television and motion picture actor? There were approximately 180.7 million American citizens in 1961. The number of professional actors working in Hollywood was like the size of a drop of water in the ocean. Most American citizens go throughout their lives without the masses knowing who they are, but Victor Charles's name was well known by millions now, and it put him into an entirely different circle. My father Sonny was 11 years old when Victor Charles was born, and they lived together in the same houses between the years of 1938 to 1949. My father saw the good and bad behaviors of Victor Charles while he was growing up. Throughout my father's life, he spoke precious little about his experiences of when living under the same roof with Victor Francis. He once told me that Victor Charles was favored more by Victor Francis than me because he had the Buono blood passing through his veins and he didn't. In 1961, Bette Davis was in the motion picture Pocketful of Miracles starring Glenn Ford. It was a film by Franton Productions, and it was released on December 19, 1961. Bette Davis must have been very happy knowing Joan Crawford didn't have a motion picture that year. Frank Sinatra was slowing down a bit in 1961 with only having one motion picture that year, being The Devil at 4 O'Clock, starring Spencer Tracy. Victor Charles would soon befriend young actor Jonathan McMurtry at the Oak Globe Theater. McMurtry's name was in the San Diego Union Tribune newspaper on May 2, 2004, written by Anne Marie Welsh, and it printed, "McMurtry was 19 when he seduced a panel of judges listening to him speak Shakespeare. He was studying graphic design and working for Disney in Los Angeles when a teacher talked him into preparing for a Shakespeare competition. He won the Western Regionals with the solemn poetry of the soon-to-be deposed poet King Richard II. In New York, McMurtry tied for first in the national finals with Larry Limfield, later Frank Burns on the MASH. Their prize was a year's scholarship to the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts in London. Both went, but McMurtry was smitten big time. He stayed on an extra year, studying with such mentors as the Royal Shakespeare Company's John Barton and voice coach, Margaret Carrington. My Uncle Tony once told me that when he first met Jonathan McMurtry, he thought he was gay, but that was only Tony's opinion. I believe Jonathan McMurtry gave this quaint confession of being gay when he was a young and pretty man in the newspaper article written by Anne Marie Welsh. Victor Charles and Jonathan had a very close relationship in the early 1960s, and they most likely may have had sexual affairs as well. My Uncle Tony also said to me when he and David Francis weren't driving Victor Charles up to Hollywood, it was Jonathan McMurtry who was behind the steering wheel. Victor Charles didn't have a license then, and he didn't know how to drive a vehicle until later in the 1960s. I personally spoke with Jonathan McMurtry in a diner over a cup of coffee in the early 1990s, and after having a long conversation about acting, and when going home, I thought that Victor Charles couldn't have had a better friend and lover as Jonathan McMurtry. Victor Charles played the role of Mr. Moon in the television program The Untouchables on April 20th, 1961, and the executive producer was Cherry Thrope. When Victor Charles played Mr. Moon in The Untouchables, there were many eyes recognizing him as a talented actor, and in newspaper clippings, they described the similarities between Buono and Krieger, saying, "Moon is played by newcomer Victor Buono, a man who may take Laird Krieger's place in the movie business." I would guess most people never heard the name of Lord Gurger. I personally never had. Lord Gurger was born on July 28, 1913 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. When he was 24 years old in 1938, Victor Charles was just born, and Lord acted at the Pasadena Playhouse in the stage production of Oscar Wilde, written by Leslie and Sewell Stokes. A fellow actor named Thomas Brown Henry at the Pasadena Playhouse gave Lord Gregor this advice: "Don't lose a pound of weight, but instead to develop a thin man's personality." Another similarity between Buono and Krieger was that they were 6 foot 3 inches tall, and they both weighed around 300 pounds. Legend actor John Barrymore witnessed Lord Gurger's performance in the production Oscar Wilde, and he later said, "Krieger was one of the most gifted young stage actors in the past 10 years. In 1942, Lord Gregor was in the stage production of The Man Who Came to Dinner. And 17 years later, Victor Charles would be acting at the Oak Globe Theater in the same production of The Man Who Came to Dinner. Then in 1943, he was having a homosexual affair with a young actor named David Bacon, and when Daryl Zanuck of 20th Century Fox found out that he was having an affair with a man, Zanuck then had an article written in the New Silver Screen magazine that Lord Gregor was currently having a romantic relationship with actress Dorothy McGuire. This also is a similarity of two talented and large men actors, Buono and Krieger, being gay, who were protected by Hollywood movie studios, covering up any condemning sexual episodes that might hit the newspapers. In the process of growing lighter and thinner, he had a severe abdominal difficulties, and he soon had a heart attack and died on December 9th, 1944. Victor Charles's third television program on Sea Hunt, titled Underwater Drop, he was playing the role of Seminard, and it was aired on February 6, 1960. 2 days later, on February 8, 1960, actor Lord Gregor received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame at 1716 Vine Street in Hollywood, California. This, too, was an amazing similarity of these two talented actors, having the same height and weight and sexual preference. And they both were mirrored alike with greatness as well.